Hey everyone, it's time for a brand new weekly recap here for the PUBG Mobile Pro League for the Western European region Season 2. See how things actually went down before heading into the European Regional Championship. Of course, you know how these videos go by now. We're going to go right into the overall rankings to see how things actually went down. First place is going to be none other than Game Lord, able to take himself a total of 3 chicken dinners over those 18 games and 193 total. Strong, just over 10-point average every game. And when you see the performances from Narvalo OP, from also Victor, doing amazing as always, and then you have the step up from Akashi and Rob's also getting himself some good performances. This is a absolutely great team, and I just cannot wait to see what they can do in the European Championship. So best of luck to them, of course, going into that, and they also take home with that first place 10,000 euros. Below that after is going to be Exquisite Decode UK in second place, 167. Have Alicia on the team, absolutely popped off. I think that they could even tend to improve a little bit more. That's why I had on the interview was Daddy. They think they could push it even further. So man, if this is not Exquisite Decode trying their best and doing their best, man, a first place in the future, definitely a possibility. And this is the heavy hitter, of course, looking onto the rankings, is Unicorns of Love. They scared us at the start of this tournament, heading into the finals. They actually made it happen, but they actually take home this top 3 this time around. Amazing performance, taking home 4 chicken dinners. They got himself 3 wins on Sanhok alone. That was absolutely out of the ordinary. And of course, their final chicken dinner on the last Miramar game. 18 kills picked up. This team can feel nothing less than proud. It's astonishing to see them come back so strong. They were a little bit scared entering into day 3, but they made it happen, and that's all that counts. Followed up was Vodafone Giants and Eastern Stars on 4th and 5th respectively. A little bit scared by especially Eastern Stars towards the end. We were not sure if they were potentially going to be able to push through, but they did. And also Vodafone Giants, team that we expected a little bit more from them, but you know what? They show up in the finals. That's fine. That's all we need. And we'll see in the European Regional Championship how that actually goes down. So those 5 teams make it to the next event. Congratulations to them. And we'll see how things are going to be working out. But not only that, but Unicorns of Love directly qualify to the PUBG Mobile Global Championship, overtaking Eastern Stars in those final few games. It was close, down to a 2-point difference, but at the end, it counted the most. They got themselves those points. GG, well played to them. After that, you have 4 Million Boys, Chasmac Gaming, Nexus Gaming. Nexus had, unfortunately, a very drastic drop-off in the last 2 days of the finals. We expected a little bit more, but it seemed like it was kind of a one-hit wonder situation where they performed so well on the first day and were not able to remain consistent throughout the last 2 days. So, unfortunate for them, if they can do a little bit better in the future and see what they can do in the next seasons if they do qualify, of course. Now going down, we're going to be going on to the second page of the rankings, and we're going to be able to see Conqueror able to really put in the performances. I mean, they had a pretty rough time, this Pmpl. Definitely not what we potentially expected from Conqueror. But you know what? It does seem, especially on that third D, that there was some clear improvements made by the team, getting himself in strong positions, gatekeeping a lot, being pretty aggressive. So even though they didn't quite the entire way and didn't make it into the top 5, I feel like they can still be proud about how much they improved this Pmpl, and hopefully they can use that experience as a drive for the next events to come. After that, even lower, you're going to have, of course, Team Big. Team Big in 12th place was 115 points. I think I'm not the only one here that will say that we expected way better things. If you would have told me which team I thought was going to be into the top 5, I would have put Big there without any doubt in my mind. But it just didn't work out. And we still saw Mihi doing good, but Beast was maybe struggling a little bit more from time to time. You're still able to get some good opportunities every once in a while. But in general, this is not the Big we expected to see. So I'm sure they're going to be very disappointed after this. And hopefully they can try and look back on these games, see what went wrong, and try and fix those, because this is a team that I want to see again in Pmpl Western Europe Season 3. So hopefully we're going to keep on working hard and see how things are going to be going moving forward. But with that, of course, we're going to have LMV Gaming had himself a very strong second Super Weekend. Got some decent moments towards the end of the finals, but just not enough. You can't afford to have a good game every once in a while and then just bad result after bad result after bad result. For LMV Gaming, that's just clearly not going to be working. So hopefully can try and work on that a little bit more in the future. And then in 14th is TSC Legends, 15th is Doom, and 16th place is Extreme Slayers. A lot of things to be talked about these teams, but there's not enough time. And you know what? I think that we'll have especially a little bit more of a breakdown when we go over the games played day by day. So you definitely want to stick around for the breakdowns to happen, because we're going to go a little bit more in depth about every single game. Now we're going to be able to focus on our day-per-day breakdown, of course, here for the Pmpl Western Europe Season 2. We're going to have to start for our first day. And the first day was a a weird one. If you watched how things went down, it was a really weird one. Very topsy-turvy was a word that we used quite a bit on the desk at one point with Kalaris and Jason. Because we had some teams we did not expect do extremely well. Which is great to see some teams that we did not expect do well, but it is a little bit upsetting for the other teams that we were expecting to hopefully get some good results, but didn't quite go their way. The first team we're going to have to talk about, of course, is Nexus Gaming. Absolutely popping the hell off in that first day of the finals. There was a big step up, especially having Dexter back with the team. When Du was doing especially so well, you have that intricate duo that was getting themselves some really good results. And out of all of those games, out of the first day, out of the 6 games, they got 4 top 5s. That was never seen before from Nexus Gaming in the Pmpl Western Europe Season 2. And we were shocked, but we were wondering at the end of that day, is this just a one-hit wonder, or can they remain consistent for the next 2 days? Of course, we're going to have to see how that went down, but it got a little bit dicey afterwards. But at least for the first day, really big surprise, especially with that win where Dexter took a 1v2 on Miramar. Big play. Love to see Nexus do well at the start of the finals. The team that was at the top, and we were a little bit surprised to see, seeing how much they struggled to just make in the finals in the first place, it's Vodafone Giants. Nano got some really good results from time to time, but they got that big first win on Sanhok, on the first Sanhok of the finals, and it's amazing. Because Vodafone Giants, we hyped them up at the start of the tournament as this is a team that has potential to do so many good things, and they kind of fell flat on their faces. Luckily enough, we're able to make it into the finals. But we were still not sure what to expect in the finals itself. And boom, big first day, big banger. And you see especially some pretty good points picking up their way. They get themselves, also, just like Nexus Gaming, 4 top 5s. They get themselves 2 4th places, 1 2nd place, and the chicken dinner on the first Sanhok game, as I just mentioned. So, Vodafone Giants, great start. Followed up after that, you have 4 Million Boys, were super, and I mean super consistent on that first day, getting himself killed every single time. Sure, they didn't get all top 5s like the other teams, but in terms of their overall fragging potential, Romanian boys were looking strong. A very big contender. And they were the dark horse before entering that day, so it was good to see what they could potentially bring to the table. And Redox was back on the board again. Dorian was still performing as good as he used to do, so that duo again performing so well and able to take home that second Erangel win of the day. 4 Romanian boys were looking like a potential contender towards the top for your Game Lord, for your Eastern Stars, for Unicorns of Love, for your Team Bigs, and they did really well to kickstart the finals here. And then the other team that I think is very important to talk about is Unicorns of Love. Really bad start. The first 5 games are just, you could just throw them out the window and forget about them because they almost didn't happen in terms of the points they brought home. But last game of the day, take home that chicken dinner on Sanhok with some of the weirdest rotations, but it worked out at the end of the day, and the strat paid off. So good stuff from Unicorns of Love, trying to catch up a little bit and jump up the rankings, though can't quite say the same for Team Big, as they were struggling a lot and just not able to budge out of that bottom page. So Team Big desperately needed to get some good results in the next 2 days.
It's only a matter of time. Bina goes down, Clink soon to follow as they swarm, they rampage back into the hopes and dreams of all of their fans. It's the Unicorns of Love.
Now looking into our second day of the finals. Very good start for Chasmac Gaming as they take themselves the very first win on that day. Really good call-outs, especially from MZ throughout the entire day. And Chasmac Gaming is one of the few teams that you could think making it to top 5 could be a possibility. Top 3 maybe a little bit too high to aim for, but I do believe that when you're looking at the opportunity this team had to make into the top 5, I think they could make it. And I think that start, especially with the good call-outs of MZ, was a very good way to kickstart day 2 of the finals. Looking into another team that was able to take home a win was on that Miramar Madness from LMV Gaming. They're typically a team that likes to drop in Campo Militar, and they don't have the easiest time to get into Circle most of the time. But here, so well played. They go for big high ground position right down southwest of Campo Militar. Get the information, see the compound of TSC, see the circle that's ending towards a field finish with only one position that's extremely strong. LMV Gaming breach onto TSC, lose 0 players, get the position under control, and then just laser the other teams and pick up an insane amount of kills and pick up, of course, the chicken dinner at the end. So this is the LMV after Super Weekend 2 that we expected to potentially remain at that kind of level of gameplay. They struggle to remain consistent, but this is what LMV Gaming can do in their optimal position, and we wanted to see a little bit more of that. So we had a little bit of hope it was still alive while MV Gaming when it comes to the finals. And talking about hope staying alive, of course it stayed alive for Game Lord and Eastern Stars. A really good second day, no issue with that one whatsoever. Game Lord, of course, starting off with 2 second places back to back. No one's quite confirmed the win, but at the end it's still 2 second places, so still get 12 points for those 2 games. So it's pretty good performance from Game Lord. And followed up after that, you got Eastern Stars taking home that 1 chicken dinner. So they were already really high in the rankings, but the fact that they're just able to get themselves some still good results, make sure that they can just be pretty comfortable, maybe start and build a cushion. But as we're going to see when we talk about day 3, got a little bit tricky for a second, but at least they were looking relatively comfortable when it came to that second day. But other teams that maybe didn't do as well and actually fell off a pretty significant amount has been Nexus Gaming and 4 Million Boys. 4 Million Boys broke that kind of consistency we saw from them in day 1, fell off big time. Nexus Gaming, I mean, they were in the top 3 at the start of the day, and they fell down to top 5, which is still fine to make it to the European Regional Championship, but that's when you start to question Nexus Gaming. Can they really hold on? Can they really remain into the top 5? Or they're going to slowly keep falling down until they get kicked out of the top 5 to not make it to that event? We'll have to see, but we had some teams starting to slip down on that second day, and it got pretty tricky for some of those teams.
Turns it around, 1 versus 2 now behind the rock. Akashi gets one more, turns it around from below, from the quarry, covered in mud and rocks, looks to take on the Giants and will be trying to slay here. David Incarnate. Akashi moves forwards. Nano wants the res, makes the final push, the half HP and can't quite.
And now we're going to be shifting our focus over to the 3rd and final day here for the Pmpl Western Europe Season 2. And right off the gate, Exquisite Decode UK win game number 1. They were already in 4th place at the start of that day and just gave themselves the first win of the day. They're just making sure that they're creating a statement that we are aiming for the European Regional Championship. And with Alicio and also Reznov doing so well, set up by Daddy as the IGL and Will trying to play more of the supportive role. Those 2 guys absolutely shredded it when it came to that 3rd and final day. So amazing stuff to see. Was it Decode? Team Big, good start of the day, taking himself a 2nd place on that 2nd game over there on Miramar. But unfortunately, right after that, things got a little bit dicey. And when we got towards the end, in the last 2 games, they needed to hit about 40-50 points to have a chance to make into the top 5, which unfortunately didn't quite happen for them. So Big, we hope to see a little bit more. Mihi still performed pretty well on an individual level, but Big, hopefully in Season 3, Season 4, we can see a lot more from this team because we think that they have the potential to shine on a more global stage. After that, of course, you've got to keep in mind for that 3rd and final day, the big storyline we were mainly focusing on was the race to PMGC, and that was between Eastern Stars and Unicorns of Love. Sometimes it was down to a 2-point difference, which is insane when you think that these 2 teams got over the 2 seasons over 1,000 points. So over 1,000 points for these 2 teams and is down to a 2-point difference is impossible to even imagine in the first place. But as we did see throughout the games to come, Unicorns of Love just put the last nail in the coffin for Eastern Stars, as Unicorns of Love not only won the first Sandhog game, not the second, this time it was the first. They win this first Sandhog game in very dominant fashion, plus get himself 13 kills on top of that, while Eastern Stars struggled to try and keep up to that type of pacing. They started creating a little bit of a gap, and then as we see the game on Miramar, game number 5, 18 kills. Plus a chicken dinner, and what myself and Kalaris called for Unicorns of Love is nothing less than perfect. It was absolute utter perfection. It's even hard to put into words as how well they played from the early game, how they go into position every time. Sure, they lost Raucus pretty early. They got themselves such a good dip. They took control at the very last second across the road when no one could really fight back to make sure they close off that game. This is the Unicorns of Love we needed to see at the start of this Pmpl. This is the Unicorns of Love we want to see in the European Regional Championship. And this is the Unicorns of Love we want to see into the PMGC. Hopefully they can perform in all those other events. But Unicorns of Love able to step up big time in that final day was huge for them to make sure they can get into that top 5. And of course, when you're looking at the last game, won by Game Lord to make sure that they are renowned as the best team in this Pmpl Western Europe Season 2, able to remain consistent throughout Super Weekend to Super Weekend to Super Weekend, and of course, as we see now, heading also into the finals, able to stay extremely strong. Akashi, big step up with Robs into the finals, but it's always Narvalo and Victor able to be just so damn impactful when it comes to every single game they've played so far. But with that said, that's about it for our breakdown, for our recap here for the Pmpl Western Europe Season 2 finals. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. See you next time.
And I think Exquisite D got there just where the guys will go with the bug in the spray. It's going to connect first, but it's going to fall down. And we can see only Musi remaining. So that's going to be solo. It's going to be dealt with it as well.